Labor markets are changing fast, and the future of work has now become our present. Now, businesses will have to decide whether to keep physical offices now that the world is gradually returning to what we used to know as the normal, while workers are threatened by automation as well. Many other are open to the idea of retaining their jobs. Now, COVID-19 has dramatically accelerated the adoption as well of remote work and the use of artificial intelligence. Now, to have this discussion with us, we are joined by Professor Tshilidzi Marwala. He is the vice-chancellor of research and internationalization at the University of Johannesburg and the deputy chair of the Presidential Commission of the the fourth industrial revolution. Now, Professor, thank you so much for your time this morning. We've been talking about 4IR for quite some time now, but over the last 12 to 18 months, it's really been forced on us. It seems like the world of work is changing very fast.
No, absolutely. Good morning, and I would like to wish all our people a happy Workers' Day. You know, during the previous industrial revolutions, the idea of workers' exploitation and trade unionism was the theme. But now with artificial intelligence, where much of the work that used to be done by human beings is being taken away, it's no longer the question of just exploitation in the workforce. It's actually the issue of human relevance in the workforce. And what do we do about that? The fact that much of the work that used to be done by human beings, and it's not just in the manufacturing industry. Just think of all these, call centers now that are, where we use bots to be able to answer quite complicated inquiries. So the world of work is changing with all sorts of implications, and we have to be ready for it.
You speak, Professor, about some of the threats when it comes to how humans are no longer, the main focus when it comes to the value chain of work. And there is a threat of automation, of things like terms like unemployability as opposed to just employment. What are some of the key factors that one needs to look out for there in order to ensure that workers are able to still play a significant role in the world of business and employment and the value chain?
Well, I mean, firstly, I should just put it up front that our participation in the automation is not an option that we can avoid. And the reason for that is because these automation machines that are intelligent are much, much more productive. And because of that, if we do not adopt these technologies, then jobs are simply going to migrate to the rest of the world. And we'll end up doing exactly what we are doing now, where almost everything that I wear today is not made in South Africa, simply because elsewhere these things are made at better quality and at a better cost. So what is happening to the world of work? So some jobs are completely disappearing. Many jobs are changing, which basically means they require a human-machine capabilities. The workers must now be able to have the expertise to work with machines, and new jobs are emerging. We know about data scientists, a job that did not really exist 20 years ago. Now, the question is, what do we do as South Africans? Illiteracy, adult-based education, is no longer just the inability to read or write. It is also the inability to understand technology. So we have to educate ourselves. Our schooling system must change. But for those who are already in the workforce, we have to reskill them so that they are able to have the capabilities of playing a significant role in this new labor market.
Professor, now, of course, the fact that we are now sitting in this new position, new normal as we know it, as COVID-19 has made it, has meant that a lot of our infrastructure has been laid bare. And we've essentially seen that and actually a lot of people have struggled to adapt to working from home due to the lack of internet facilities. Maybe they don't have laptops or whatever else the case might be. In terms of the country, what needs to be set in place in order for this fourth IR that we've been talking about for so long to actually bear effective fruits, to the quality that we'd like to see, and not just having the top or the cream of the crop able to transform with the new workforce and so many getting left behind?
No, absolutely. I mean, many of us have been working remotely, and what we have observed, even at universities, is that students are actually doing much, much better. They did much, much better last year than before. Which basically means that online education is actually quite good, and if you go to the workforce, many people were telling me that the productivity of the workers who were working from their homes was actually quite good. But the infrastructure that we have in place, I'm not talking just about devices that individuals have. Issues such as connectivity infrastructure, for example, is not uniformly available to all our citizens. Like, for example, if you are working from a village in Limpopo province, the bandwidth is not high enough. So the issue of investing in 4IR infrastructure is so important that it is one of the recommendations of the Fourth Industrial Revolution Commission. What are some of these infrastructure we're talking about? Obviously, computing infrastructure is very important. Data centers, very, very important. Connectivity, which now thrust us into the world of spectrum. We need to issue spectrum to telecommunication companies. And I think the other thing that is emerging is that we should have discipline-specific spectrum allocation. The Chamber or the European Chamber of Mines came and met me and said many of their companies would like to have their own spectrum, because in their factories they have robots that are communicating with one another, and they would like to use their own spectrum. Educational institutions would like to have their own dedicated spectrum so that they can bring the cost of telecommunication down. The same goes to our hospitals and so on and so forth. So we need to rework our telecommunication sector so that it is in line with the new normal that we find ourselves.
Professor, you asked earlier on, what do we do as South Africans as the numbers around job automation and those fears intensify and grow? And I've got a study in front of me that speaks of how 77% of South Africans said they were willing to retrain for a completely different job. And this survey also found that emerging countries like South Africa are the most willing to retrain. But can this be implemented effectively in South Africa?
No, absolutely. I'll just give you an example. We obviously have to identify what are these new skills that are emerging. And you have talked about skills in artificial intelligence. That is the area of my expertise. I did a PhD in artificial intelligence at the University of Cambridge 23 years ago. We need to make this subject compulsory. If you come to the University of Johannesburg, it does not matter what you are studying. There's going to be an introductory course in artificial intelligence that you have to take, irrespective of what you are studying. Again, at the University of Johannesburg, together with the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, we actually came together and and developed a course in the fourth industrial accounting in the fourth industrial revolution, so that the people who are already in the workforce can reskill themselves. Now with online platforms and Coursera, many courses are available where you don't necessarily have to go to an institution. You can go and register online for a fantastic course that is going to reskill you so that you are able to be relevant in this new era.
Professor, now with the figures in the last quarter of 2020 coming out saying that there's 32.5% unemployment, the world of work looks vastly different. Let's talk about the gig economy that we are being forced into as a country, and us adapting to that. How important is it that we start looking at things in a different perspective, like a gig economy, for instance?
No, absolutely. I mean, some people are saying, because the balance of the available work, and this is not just the South African phenomenon. are the jobs that are being destroyed or eliminated from the market, larger than the jobs that are being created. And many studies are showing us that, the workforce of the future is going to be slimmer than the workforce of the past, which basically means the issue of unemployment is going to be a big problem. We have to reimagine how the workforce is going to be. I mean, people are suggesting something as far-fetched as job sharing and so on and so forth. So those are the things that we need to put on the table. But obviously, if the world of work shrinks, now our tax base is also going to shrink because, personal taxes that are paid by workers are going to reduce. And the whole economic paradigm in which we are operating in is going to change. Again, there's going to be a change in the economic paradigm. What do we do about it? Bill Gates actually suggests that we should start taxing robots. Can we do that? How feasible is this? I think it's not as feasible as we think it is, but it's something that we need to think about. Some people are saying that as part of this new economy that is emerging, the concept of a universal basic income becomes an important consideration that we have to take into account. Now, given the fact that our tax base will be shrinking, might be shrinking, how do you do that? And that is why we have to go back, and the Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution actually deals with this very, very well. We have to go back to the issue of increasing the competitiveness of the South African economy if we are going to thrive in this new era that is coming.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to have to leave it there for the sake of time. That, of course, being Professor Tshilidzi Marwala speaking about the future of work in the midst of COVID-19 and a limping economy. And, of course, he is the vice-chancellor of the University of Johannesburg.